Welcome to Marketing Made Simple TV. I'm Jeff Ogden, the host of the show, and we're thrilled to have you back once again for another great show. Content marketing has been such a common theme on this show. We've had Joe Paluzzi of the Content Marketing Institute. We have Jay Baer of Convince and Convert. We've had Doug Kessler of Velocity Partners on here. We've had Jim Burns of Avatage. And we've got another great content marketing expert on this show to educate you on the importance of content marketing and how to do it. Jon Weubben is the author of this great book called Content is Currency, Developing Powerful Content for the Web and Mobile. And he's quite a content marketing expert. He gave a presentation at Content Marketing World. So let's welcome Jon to the show. Hey, Jon, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I'm going to start you off with a question I ask every guest on the show. It's a tradition, and it's a very simple question. And it is simply, who are you and what do you do?
I think I can handle that one. So I am the CEO of Content Launch. We're a content development and strategy firm. I've been doing it for about 10 years. We have a lot of passion for content and content marketing. We were doing content marketing back in 2003, which seems like a long time ago. And I've written 2 books on content marketing. Obviously, Content is Currency was one of them. I also wrote Content Rich 4 or 5 years ago. And it's just been a real thrill to be kind of on the forefront of this industry and really helping companies understand content, the power of content marketing, and how they can use it to effectively grow their business. It's amazing to me that there's so many companies still that are just learning about content marketing and how it can impact their business. And for me, that's the real buzz I get is really being on the ground floor and helping small and medium-sized businesses and some large companies as well, get started with content.
Thanks, Jon, and I agree with you and Joe Paluzzi said it best. He said even though content marketing has been in going on for 100 years, he said it's an industry in its infancy. So I think he's exactly right. So first, let's start with a very simple question. Why is content marketing so important in 2014?
Well, many reasons, but number one is the stats, the data tells us the same thing no matter what study you're talking about, and that is that when you use content and you embrace content marketing as a process, as a strategy with your company, you will succeed more often than if you use advertising or the traditional forms of promotion. All the numbers have been tallied over the last 2 or 3 years, and every study comes back and shows that you're using your dollars more wisely, you're using your time more efficiently if you're using content to effectively market your business. And so that's number one. Number two is that your competitors are now embracing content. So if they're using content and inbound marketing to really fuel their business, you probably should too. So there's competitive pressure going on. Number three, it just makes sense because it's how we want to interact with companies. We all have our favorite companies that we do business with. We all have our favorite blogs on a personal level that we like to read, and it's how we like to be treated as consumers. And the whole consumer thing has changed dramatically over the last 15 years. Consumers now have much more power and influence than they ever had before. So what that means is that they're making their decision many times before they even contact you. They've looked at 7, 8, 9 pieces of content before they've contacted your business. So if that's what's happening and that is the playing field, then you have no choice but to be a part of it. So I'm asking all companies to fall in love with content marketing, but even if you don't fall in love with it, at least get started with it and do it and learn to love it, because it really is how you do marketing today.
I think that's a great point. I think you're right. People want to get helpful information, and helpful information by definition is content that is helpful. Now, one of the things you have in your book, or one of the first steps you say that companies should do, is to start by analyzing what they have. They probably already have some content. Why is it important to analyze your existing content as one of the first steps?
Well, it's fundamental, because if you don't know what you have and you don't know where you need to go and what your competitors are doing, you don't know the lay of the land. So in order to understand where you need to go 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, you got to understand where you're at, where you're positioned, what your current content looks like. Is it being shared? Are people reading it? Are they consuming it? What is the data telling you? What does the analytics tell you? And getting all of that first and foremost is where you have to start. It doesn't matter if you're a big company, small company. We work with a lot of big companies on fairly large content strategy projects where we do this kind of work for them. And you'd be surprised how many of these large companies, we're talking, $5, $6, $7 billion companies, just now embracing content strategy as a discipline. And we've gone in and audited their content, and we found things like no shareable content. We found things like metadata that's the same on every page of their website. We found things like they didn't have an infrastructure in place to handle the content marketing process. So they didn't have a director or a senior person that would handle content marketing. Maybe they didn't have that position established yet. They didn't have the processes in place. So there's a lot of things that you have to plan for before you even write a piece of content or shoot a piece of video or record a webinar, whatever the content is. There's a lot of planning that you have to do, and that's just it's basic, but it's going to take time to get that right.
It's interesting, John, and one of the things I found interesting about your book, and you just talked about it, is having the same metadata on every web page. You talk in your book a lot about search marketing and using content for search marketing.
Yep.
Why is it that content marketing done right is also search marketing?
Oh, that's a great question, and thanks for asking that, because I think there's a lot of confusion in terms of SEO versus content marketing, how the two fit together. And clearly SEO was the first big thing that came out 10, 11, 12 years ago, and it was all about finding those keywords, optimizing your pages, getting those pages ranked. SEO is still important. It's not as important as it was 3, 4, 5 years ago, but you still want to be found in the search engines. Now what's happened, a lot of things have changed. Clearly we've had the rise of the social platforms over the last 4 or 5 years, and social has now become a very powerful force within the content marketing paradigm. So people are now sharing your content, and you're hoping they're sharing a lot of your content, and you get a lot of people to share your content. We didn't have that 5, 6, 7 years ago, right? It was just SEO at that point. So the two have really converged, and we now have a more complicated but more robust way of really reaching your market and getting that content intelligence. That would be my comment there, is that you still have to do the keyword research. I mean, that's a great place to start regardless, because you want to know what people are talking about out there in the industry. There could be topical, very seasonal subjects that you need to talk about. And you want to still write your metadata correctly, your title and your description tags. Those are always going to be important. But what's changed is that it's not just about SEO anymore. It's about high quality content and optimization and social, right? You're doing all these things together. And so what Google has told us over the last 4 or 5 years with all their algorithm changes is, guess what, guys? That cheap quality content, the stuff that you're just regurgitating out that maybe you're getting done offshore, that doesn't work anymore. It's never worked, by the way, but it's never going to work in the future ever either. And by the way, we're going to rank your website lower because of this crappy content, right? So when you have that happening, which makes a lot of sense, and I'm so glad that Google finally embraced those issues, and they continue to make inroads along those lines. I think you have to be smart about it, and it really starts with 2 things. Number 1, your keyword research, finding out what people are talking about. That's the SEO piece. And number 2, your content, and what are you going to write about? What are you going to shoot in terms of videos? So those 2 together, that's a great place to start, and that's kind of where the planning begins.
It's good. I like the fact that, and I once worked for a search marketing firm, and it was all about keywords and getting inbound links back 5 years ago. Now it's all about quality content.
Right.
You're right. So one of the things you spend a lot of time talking about in your book, John, is the website, how to create a website and how to put content and how to organize a website so that it becomes engaging. How do you organize your content and on your website, and why should that be a hub for you?
Good question. So it all starts with your blog or your website. I mean, usually they're one and the same, and hopefully they are. But that is the hub because that's where people go the most, right? That's where you get the most traffic, typically, and where you get the most lead generation happening. So as a hub, that's where your content starts, and that's where you publish your content first. And once you put it on there, on your blog, then boom, it automatically goes out to all your social profiles, to other places, maybe a blog, in a partner blog, or whatever the case might be. The reason why you need to do that is because, again, people go there first. That's where you get the traffic. Number two, your blog and your site, they're evergreen in terms of being a content silo. And that's a place where you can, two things, you can talk about your company, your services and products, and that's something you don't do in a lot of other places, right? You're going to talk about your services and products there and why you're the best in your industry, talk about the benefit story, and really target your content to your buyer personas. So that's the one place where you're really talking about what you do as a company. All the other places where your content lives and resides, you're not going to do that so much. You're going to have a little call to action at the end, but on your blogs and on your social content, you're going to have, very limited promotion of your company. So again, use your blog as the hub and then get Hootsuite hooked up to it. So Hootsuite will automatically populate everywhere else you need to go. And then also look at a marketing automation tool like a HubSpot, a Marketo, an Eloqua, a Pardot. Use one of those as well to kind of help you formulate all this stuff and manage it on an ongoing basis.
Hang on a second, John. I think we just want to pause the show a second, and I think they're going to adjust something, and then we'll get right back into it.
Yeah, no, I made some changes on my end. I definitely.
Oh, you already did it, Greg?
Yeah, I've been working in the control room, so I've changed the frames per second. He seems to be much better now.
Okay, great. All right.
Yep. Just pick it up from where you were.
Okay. So you talk, there's one other thing which I think is absolutely huge today, and it gets bigger every day, and you talk about in your book, and that's social, right? You've got, it used to be LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, and now it's Instagram and Pinterest and Reddit and what is going on, and what has that got to do with content marketing?
Yep. So I missed the last part of your question there, Jeff.
It was just about the explosion of social media, John, and how has social and content marketing come together?
Got it. Okay, so yeah, clearly there's a lot of stuff you got to be doing in the social networks, and it can be very overwhelming. We know that. Everyone has felt that. So here's the thing. It's all about creating that high quality content. I mean, you might have one white paper, a really great white paper. Maybe it's 100 pages long. Maybe it's chock full of data. Maybe you did a survey. I want you to think about creating one really great piece of content. It could be an industry benchmark report. It could be a survey of your customers and reporting out on their feedback. If you create one great piece of content, that one piece of content can turn into 1,000 mentions, right, or 1,000 shares. But it's got to be good in order for that to happen. So it's all about really diving in and finding out, how do we make this piece of content the best in the industry? Let's look at all the competitive white papers out there that are currently going on in the industry. Let's look at all the industry reports, and let's make this piece of content the best one right now. And then once you put that out there, that buzz is going to take over. You're going to get people sharing it and people talking about, wow, this is an awesome report. This is something I would have paid to read, right? I mean, many times, like through Forrester or some of the other industry analysis sites, you have to pay to get some of these reports, $200, $300, $400. But if you put together a report or a white paper that's of that quality and you don't charge for it, and then you get some buzz about it, all of a sudden the social networks start helping you out. All those people you're connected to through LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else, they start doing all that marketing for you through the social networks. So it's really about leveraging that and automating all that and leaning on your users and your customers and the people that are connected to you, influencers as well in your industry. Make sure you're friends with all those folks. getting them to help you with all this stuff. So I want companies to stop thinking that they have to sit in front of the social networks 3-4 hours a day and comment with everything and share everything. It's not about the quantity, it's about the quality, and it's really about the quality content. If you've got 10 pieces of content that are like that, how I explained earlier, really high quality, really popular, really shareable, then the social networks and everyone you're connected to, they're going to do the work for you. So now I don't want to say that it's hands off. I mean, you still have to monitor what people are saying, what customers are saying through the social networks, and respond to that. But you'll get to a point when that only takes you maybe a half hour, maybe an hour tops per day on an ongoing basis throughout the day, and have someone dedicated in your company to do that for you, or an agency that helps you with that, dedicated to your social, because you can't do all this stuff yourself. But I really want to stress that focus on that high quality content, especially with the social networks, because you have that sharing dynamic that you don't have anywhere else, right? You don't really have much sharing going on in the search engines, right? I mean, you do on Google Plus and other places, but that's what social does, and that's the power of social. So use that to your advantage.
I really like that takeaway, John, is creating one piece of what I call flagship content. So instead of saying,
Right.
okay, I've got to create 5 ebooks and white papers, just do one and make it really good. I think that's a lot easier for a company to bite off on than to try to do a whole bunch of things at once. Let's talk about blogging, because blogging is so important today. Talk to us about how often you should blog, and using keywords in blog, and guest blogging. The world of blogging is huge. What is your advice in the world about blogging?
Well, blogging is probably the most important type of content. I mean, some people might challenge me on that, but if your blog is the hub of your content marketing program, then it stands to reason that your blogging is probably the most important. So here's how I want companies to think about blogging. Number one, don't see it as just another task that you have to get done, right? I want you to build an ecosystem around your blog. I want you to have a couple people, preferably at least one if you're a small company, more if you're bigger, dedicated to managing and creating and helping that blog flourish. And then I want you to go out and do the keyword research, look at what's trending, look at the topics, come up with a list of 50 topics that you can talk about over the next 6 months. And also look at the competitive blogs and do some research there, see what they're talking about, and see what you're up against, because you have to make them good, right? Now, a blog post should be 600 to 700 words. It should be interesting, compelling, conversational. This is where you want to be conversational, right? Maybe not so much in the white papers, definitely in the blogging and in the ebooks and social. Act like you're having a conversation with that reader, right? And then also give them some free content in order to get those subscribers ramped up, so you get 10, 20, 30,000 subscribers in the period of a few months. Really reach out to the influencers, let the influencers know that you exist and that you want to help share their content and give them some power in the relationship. And then also create an editorial calendar. So once you have those 50 topics, then you start populating your editorial calendar with what you're going to do every day, every week, every month. And think about it like a magazine, right? You've heard Joe Plitzy say this many times. Others out there, Jay Baer, there's a lot of great thought leaders out there who say the same thing, which is think about your blog and your content work as like you're a magazine, right? So if you're a magazine, you're running a magazine, you're now publishing, then how are you going to publish effectively? What topics are you going to talk about? So maybe in September you're going to talk about, and if you're a car manufacturer, you're going to talk about the new car models, right? Maybe if in January you're going to talk about the next 12 months, what you see going on over the next year. So come up with seasonal topics, and then with your blog, creating the blogging that's the big challenge, right? Do you do it in-house? Do you outsource? Now, most companies are doing a little bit of both, right? I recommend that you do both. I recommend you reach out to everybody in your company. If you've got 50 people in your company, I want you to send an email out, a phone call with a lot of people, and say, hey, we want everyone to blog. And by the way, it's a requirement now that you blog. Some companies are even doing that, and that's a great idea because you never know where your great writers are going to be in your organization. You could have an engineer, an IT person that ends up being a fantastic writer, right? That gets lots of shares from their blog posts. So I'm kind of giving you a lot here, but I want to make it. I want to make sure that you understand that this is a really important piece of content, and just a few guidelines there to help you get started.
This has been a fantastic discussion, Jon, and I wish we had more time, but talk to me about your company content launch, and particularly your book here of Content is Currency. Where can the viewers learn about you, your company, what you do? Where can they get your book, etc.?
Thanks, Jeff. So contentlaunch.com is my company. We service about 200 agencies with content right now. So we're a provider to a lot of agencies in all types of content, blogging, white papers, ebooks, case studies, you name it. And we also work with about 50 companies directly, helping them with content. We do a lot of content strategy work for companies as well. Content is Currency came out a couple years ago. It's still selling very well, still helping a lot of companies. You can buy it on Amazon. It's also in a lot of bookstores around the country. And I just want to thank you, Jeff, for having me on today. It's been really great. And I hope if there's any questions out there that I can answer any questions that come up.
I want to thank Jon Weubben for being a great guest on the show. Go to Amazon and pick up this book, especially if you're just getting started in content marketing, because there's a lot of great advice in here. Content is Currency from Jon Weubben. Before we go, we want to thank our sponsors, because sponsors make the show go. Avatage is a great content marketing company up in the Boston area. Jim Burns is their CEO. Digital Ethos is an educational digitalethos.org, educational organization. Communication Strategy Group is brand telling and PR. And Watchitoo provides this wonderful platform we use for a TV on the internet show. Marketing Made Simple TV premieres every Thursday at noon Eastern. It encores every Sunday at noon Eastern. And 14 days after the premiere, it syndicates all over the web. So till next time, we'll see you again on Marketing Made Simple TV.